looking to strengthen in lots of areas, as you say, and centre-back. What can you tell us there, Mark?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because Arsenal fans are crying out for strikers. Yeah. They're crying out for those attacking players, and they feel defensively very solid, and they certainly are. There is interest in Christian Mosquera, the 21-year-old centre-back from Valencia. There are some reports out there suggesting that an offer has been rejected. Our information is not quite the same as that, but there is definite interest there. So he's a player to keep an eye on. Highly promising, highly regarded, someone with La Liga experience, and it would almost go into the mould of what Arsenal have done, particularly with their defensive options. They bring in young players, maybe send them out on loan like Saliba, let them get that experience, and then before you know it, they're a rock at the back for Mikel Arteta. So this feels like a very similar one, although Arsenal fans will be saying it's not the position that we need to strengthen right now. Yeah. We want a number 9.
Yeah, Arsenal fans crying out for a striker, so let's focus on the 2 central midfielders now that they're set to bring in, Zubimendi and Norgard. How close are they to completing their moves?
Zubimendi, that could be completed over the course of the next few days. Arsenal meeting that £51 million release clause agreement in principle on what is a long-term contract, so that could come any day. We expect him to be part of their pre-season squad. They head to Singapore and Hong Kong. As for Norgard, fee agreed earlier on this week, £10 million up front, plus add-ons. It could rise to around £15 million. There's still some work to do, but you would expect there really is a willingness from all parties, Norgard and Arsenal in particular, to get this deal done. It looks like Thomas Partey is going to depart the football club. There were conversations that were ongoing for a year or so over the course of the last few weeks. They haven't been able to come to an agreement. So Jorginho, Partey out, Norgard, Zubimendi in. I'll let Arsenal fans decide whether that's a good deal or not.
OK, so we've had a wide player, we've had a centre-back, 2 midfielders. Let's get to goalkeeper. Keep them waiting on the striker.
Yeah, Kepa. It's only a matter of time before this one gets confirmed and completed as well. We know that Arsenal are prepared to pay Kepa's Chelsea release clause, which is £5 million. He was on loan at Bournemouth last season, had a really strong loan campaign. Bournemouth fans were desperate for them to try and sign him permanently. Never going to happen, though, because of the wages he was on at Chelsea. So, therefore, he was always going to want to stay in the upper echelons of the financial pyramid. He obviously gets the opportunity to be a part of a squad that will challenge for Premier League and maybe even Champions League honours as well. So, it fits for him, being based in London. Again, this week we're expecting confirmation. That is all virtually done. Just the final details of the contract before we get official confirmation from Arsenal that they have a new goalkeeper. Their number 2 last season was Neto, who returns to Bournemouth back from his loan spell.
Looking to strengthen up front in the attacking areas. Talk to me about Abere Eze. Is he an option for them?
He's one of the players they're looking at right now. They're looking at wide forwards. The likes of Rodrigo is a player whose name won't go away at Real Madrid. But Arsenal are amongst a number of clubs playing Champions League football next season that have explored the conditions of a potential deal to sign him. He's got a £60 million release clause. If all the bonuses were met, it would rise to around £68 million. When you look at what he's done in the Crystal Palace shirt over the course of the last 2 or 3 seasons, that feels like really good value for money. I think he's earned an opportunity to play for a bigger club. It's been an incredible journey he's been on, released by the Millwall Academy, came through at QPR, got the opportunity at Crystal Palace under Roy Hodgson, but it's been over the course of the last 18 months in particular under Oliver Glasner that I think he's been so impressive. The partnership he's got with Jean-Philippe Mateta as well, Michael Elise last season, they gelled together really well. Tottenham are another club that have interest in Eze. You can understand why Arsenal want to strengthen in the wide positions. I think Bukayo Saka has been incredible over the course of the last few seasons, but on the left-hand side, Gabriel Martinelli perhaps not offering what he did 2 seasons ago, and you can understand why they're looking to just build that competition, just improving every single area of the pitch, and you can understand why so many clubs want to sign this man this summer.
Okay. It's clear that they do want to bring one in. It's clear that at the moment, Benjamin Sesko and Victor Gyökeres are 2 of the ones that they have been looking at, 2 of the ones that they have been discussing internally, and whether they're looking at Gyökeres as almost like the ready-made guy to come in his mid to late 20s, been in England once before, albeit in the Championship, and then scored all those goals for Sporting, or whether they look at Benjamin Sesko and think, you know what, early 20s, quite raw, but we've seen enough for him for us to believe that he's got a really, really high ceiling. So at the moment, it looks like a choice between those 2, but maybe Arsenal are playing a clever game there and all of the attention has been on these 2. Maybe there's another player that we haven't been talking about that Arsenal may be working on. But as far as we're aware, the information we're getting, it seems to be one of Šeško or Viktor Gyökeres. And I can't stick my head out there. I mean, I think they will sign a striker in this transfer window. They clearly have been looking. It's not a case of why haven't they signed a striker in the last few windows. They probably just haven't found the right deal. Arsenal are very, very careful when it comes in the transfer window, and they will pay what they believe to be the right market price for a player. So if the deal doesn't work for them, they are always prepared to walk away. They won't pay over the odds. So hence why they'll probably just take their time, which they can do because we're still so early in this window.
Dan, your thoughts on the Arsenal striker search? What's that meme from Titanic when she goes, the old lady?
It's been 84 years.
It feels a bit like that with the Arsenal striker search. What are your thoughts? Šeško, Gyökeres, one of those two?
I mean, yeah, as Dharmesh says, they certainly seem to be the direction of travel. I mean, I think Arsenal would love Alexander Isak, for example, someone who we know can do it in the Premier League. But
that's it, I'm out.
Well, that might happen. But the good news is, Pete, they're just not going to be able to get him out of Newcastle. So, it looks like one of these players who perhaps, are both risks in their own way. As Dharmesh says, Gyökeres scored an enormous amount of goals for Sporting over the last couple of seasons and is in his prime. He's 27. He's got a bit of experience in English football, but you're never quite sure when you're buying a player from, say, the Portuguese league or perhaps the Netherlands, whether they're going to be able to adapt to the Premier League. And then Šeško, who's much more raw. I think he's 22, so there's a high ceiling there. But again, you're effectively bringing in a young player into a position where there's an incredible amount of expectation. If you're the centre forward for Arsenal, as Kai Havertz will testify, and you miss a big chance or you go a couple of games, without a goal, looking quiet, then there's a hell of a lot of scrutiny on you. So it's not an easy role to fill, but I do look at that and think Arsenal dropped the ball over the last couple of windows. I think I could make a pretty compelling case that the lack of a centre forward was the big reason they didn't go deeper in the Champions League and FA Cup and perhaps come closer to winning the Premier League or even winning the Premier League last season. There's a case, I think, that Arteta got too ultra focused on being defensively solid and hard to beat, and the club took their eye off this glaring hole in the squad that was eventually kind of filled mainly by two midfielders, Havertz and Moreno over the course of the season.
Yeah, incredible situation. You talk about being defensively sound. I mean, they've got two of the best centre-backs there, Darms, haven't they, in Gabriel and Saliba. But Christian Mosquera, the latest player to be linked, a young centre-back from Valencia. What's your thoughts on this one? What's your take? What's the latest?
Yeah, I mean, this one they're working on. They've been looking at this player actually for the last couple of years. So it's not just someone that's come in to Arsenal's thinking. Valencia central defender, right-sided central defender. He's got a year left on his contract, so Arsenal probably think they can get a good deal done here.